Someone had a hold of her shoulders. As Lucy fell back a step, she realized that strong hands were trying to steady her, to keep her facing forward. She willed herself to scream, but all that came out was a frightened whimper. "Take it easy," a voice said. "Just breathe." Breathe? Struck by a fresh wave of panic, Lucy began to struggle. The hands holding her immediately tightened their grip, and before she realized what was happening, she felt herself being pulled tight against her captor's chest. "Stop it. I'm not going to hurt you." Lucy stopped. With her arms pinned securely to her sides, she looked up to see a pair of dark eyes gazing back at her with calm, cool intensity. In a split-second appraisal, she guessed him to be a little over 6 feet tall, with a strong, lean build, probably about her own age, possibly a year or two older. High cheekbones accentuated the angles of his face. A faint shadow of beard ran along his chin and jawline and upper lip. His hair was thick and as black as his eyes, falling in loose, tousled waves to his shoulders. And he held himself very straight, though not so much a formal posture, she sensed, as a wary and watchful one. Lucy realized she was staring. As fear and confusion coursed through her, her mind scrambled for some self-defense tactic, but the rest of her still felt too stunned to cooperate. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said again. "I just want to talk." He released her so unexpectedly that she nearly fell over. Recovering herself as best she could, Lucy watched as he took 3 steps back. Then he raised his hands into the air where she could see them. "You ran away." His eyes narrowed slightly, yet the piercing stare never wavered, even when Lucy began to back up. "What do you mean?" she demanded. "I don't know what you're talking about. Who are you?" Her heart was racing like a trip hammer, her thoughts spinning in all directions. He knows about the girl. How could he know? The only way he could possibly know anything is if he was here. If he was the one who... You tried to help her, but it was too late. And if you tell anyone at all, you could die. His tone was so even, so matter-of-fact, which somehow made it all the more frightening. Lucy's voice rose. "You don't know anything! You don't know..." And they wouldn't believe you anyway. "Who are you?" "I'm Byron. I want to help you." "I don't know you, and I don't need your help. Why are you doing this? Why are you saying these things?" "Because they're true." Slowly, he lowered his arms. He slid his hands into the pockets of his jacket, and he turned his eyes to the ground, and when he spoke, Lucy could hear the cold contempt in his voice. "It's not your fault, you know. You couldn't have saved her. Nobody could." Tears blurred Lucy's vision. Wheeling around, she was finally able to run. "This is insane. This can't be happening." She realized she was crying so hard she couldn't see, and her chest was hurting, and her lungs were aching from the cold. She slid on wet leaves and sank ankle-deep in mud. Every breath she took was a knife blade between her ribs. God, why had she ever come here this morning? How could she be so stupid? What could she possibly have been thinking? And now, on top of everything else, here was some psycho lurking in the graveyard, acting like he knew her, acting like he knew about what had happened here last night. Some psycho who must be the murderer. Who else could he be? He saw me and he knows who I am, and now it's a game. Cat and mouse. He's taunting me, and now he's going to kill me too. "You're in danger," the voice warned. Lucy screamed. She hadn't heard him following, hadn't seen him coming. But now her back was flat against a tree, and he was standing there, just inches away, gazing at her with those dark, dark eyes. "People know I'm here," she babbled. "They'll be looking for me. They'll be worried if..." "I told you, you don't have to be afraid of me. I'm a friend." "Leave me alone. I don't have any friends." "But you need one. Someone you love is gone now. You need one. Lucy gaped at him. A wave of nausea rose up from her stomach, lodged in the middle of her throat. "I'm going to be sick. Oh, God, I'm sorry about your mother." As Lucy drew an incredulous breath, all feelings of nausea vanished. She simply stood there with her mouth open, staring at him in utter disbelief. "Someone told you." At last her words choked out, tight with fury. "Someone had to tell you. My aunt or my cousin or someone at school." "No one had to tell me. I see it in your eyes." She was vaguely aware of a rushing in her head, a churning mixture of shock and rage and despair, and the tears that wouldn't stop, still pouring down her cheeks. For a moment she couldn't think, didn't even realize that she'd moved toward him, or that her hands had clenched into fists, or that she'd shoved them hard against his chest. "You really expect me to believe that?" She saw him shake his head, saw his hands close firmly over her fists, though he made no move to push her away. Some things take time to believe in, and right now, we don't have a lot of time. As Lucy stared at him in bewilderment, he eased her hands from the front of his jacket. Then, still holding her wrists, he leaned down toward her, his voice low and urgent. "Something happened here last night. Something important." Yes, she thought desperately. A murder. A cold-blooded murder, and "I think something touched you." "You don't know anything." "But what'd you touch?" Angela had asked, and the dying girl's hand squeezing so hard. The pain, the horrible pain, the excruciating pain. And "That's no bruise," Angela had said. "That's no bruise." "I think something was passed on to you." Lucy's eyes widened. As she tried to pull free, Byron's grip tightened, forcing her closer. With one smooth movement, he turned both her hands palms up and gazed down at the tiny crescent-shaped scar. "Let go!" Jerking from his grasp, Lucy stumbled back out of reach. She could feel her right hand beginning to tingle, ice-hot needle pricks spreading out from the center, out to her fingertips, and she clamped it shut and thrust it deep into her pocket. She told herself it was just the cold, told herself Byron had just held her too tight, shut off her circulation. But her hand was stinging, feeling so strange, and it was starting to tremble, just like her knees were trembling, just like her voice was trembling. "Stay away from me!" she burst out. "I don't know why you're here, and I don't have a clue what you're talking about, and I'm not afraid of you." For a long moment, Byron stared at her. "It's not me you need to be afraid of," he said at last. It took every ounce of courage to turn her back on him. Holding her head high, Lucy made her way determinedly back through the graves, and she told herself that she wouldn't look back. But when she did, he was still standing there, and she couldn't help thinking how very much he resembled some dark angel, some ominous messenger in the midst of all that death. "Be careful," he called to her then, his voice as heavy as the shadows around him. "Someone won't be glad you're here."